Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and can you believe it? It is raining again, and again, my Little League team had a fielding practice scheduled for today. We had to cancel yesterday, we have to cancel today. The only way these kids are going to do any fielding is if it's inside of a cage, which we may have to do, because these kids, I think I've taught them to hit pretty well, but in the fielding department, just haven't had much field time. So anyway, all right, and now let's move from Little League Baseball to the changing of the financial world for probably the first time in history. I love transitioning from all these silly problems that I have in my daily life to talking about what I think is about to change the entire financial world. Okay. This is from, now this right here is one of the first things that I saw when I woke up this morning. And I was just like, are you kidding me? This is a retweet from Yoshitaka Kitao. Now remember, those of you that don't know, Yoshitaka Kitao is the CEO of SBI Holdings. SBI Holdings bought 10.5% of Ripple in 2016. Recently, Yoshitaka Kitao was put on the board of directors at Ripple, okay? This guy knows what's going on. For those of you who have been in denial about how the IMF, the G20, and all of this brings XRP into the equation, you need to deny no more, because Yoshitaka Kitao has retweeted this. He would not retweet this unless this was part of the plan. And I will tell you point blank what I believe the plan is. The first is that, and I don't know how the inner workings of what the G20 has to approve or whatever, but I believe that what he's saying right here, and I believe if you look at the surrounding evidence of things that have been said, things that have been done, places that Ripple people have been places they've been put. If you put it all together, it equals XRP somehow being declared an international bridge currency. You can see it, but remember the central bank digital currency where they sent out, the World Economic Forum sent out to all these central banks around the world, that JP Morgan coin and XRP would be considered like bridge currencies. I believe that a part of that is this G20, or somehow they have to approve that being okay, that XRP is a bridge. I believe that that's what Yoshitaka Kitao is pointing to. And then in conjunction with that, the interledger protocol is stamped with the protocol for the movement of money, just like with the W3C, just like HTTP for the Internet of Information was. That's what I believe all of this is about. Now, on top of that, you're going to see major announcements of major all this stuff, okay? But I don't think he tweets this out for no reason. Let's read what he tweeted out. This is just a part of it. Given this, the G20, led by the United States and Japan in the absence of China, said Libra was banned. DCEP was ignored, and a roadmap was needed to improve global cross-border payments. Isn't it harder not to associate XRP with this? Of course, the race to decide what tokens to mediate in payments has not yet been finalized, but at least XRP is at the stage of commercialization and commercialization. I think they repeated that twice. Ripple's lobbying activity, which got the approval of the World Bank and the IMF, and finally stated that the XRP was leading to efficient international remittances from the U.S. government agency last December, may have finally flourished. The market feels responsive. The following is an excerpt from the joint statement of the G20 finance ministers' central bank meeting. Now, I know that I had to translate this. This was from a Japanese thing, so there's a lot that's lost in translation here. But look, folks, they're dancing all around this. I mean, this is starting to appear very obvious. And I believe that Ripple says 2020 is the year of the digital asset because they know that things like this are going to happen. It's not because they're worried about speculators and what they're going to say and all that type of thing, or what they're going to do on coin market cap. That's small potatoes. That's why Glenn Hutchins says that the prices are a distraction, because in the scheme of things, when this type of thing happens, those things you see, those prices you see on coin market cap are meaningless. Then there was this from Ian Northing, and I don't know what document he's pulling this from. It might be from that same article. Given this, the G20 led by the United States and Japan in the absence. Okay, that's from that article. Let's see if he's got anything else in here that is. There's other parts of this article. But anyway, I'm not going to go any further into it. I think it's basically from those. And this is June 8th, 9th, 2019. Technical innovations, including those underlying cryptographic assets, can provide significant benefits to the financial system and the wider economy. Crypto assets do not pose a threat to the stability of the global financial system at this time. Let's see. And then they talk about the FSBC. Now, for those of you that have not been around, I wanted to show you this. This is from back in 2000, because the IMF's all over this too. This is from back March 15th of 2017. This is older news, but a lot of you that are watching have not ever seen this. Look at this. This is Christine Lagarde when she headed the IMF. IMF Managing Director welcomes establishment of high-level advisory group on fintech. The group is composed of highly experienced and respected leaders in the field of finance and technology and includes industry pioneers, regulators, lawyers, and academics. So look at the people on this list. And I'm going to explain to you who's represented here. And remember, before I explain this, I want you to remember the story about that book called The Creature from Jekyll Island. That book is about the formation of the Federal Reserve System, folks. Okay, the formation of the Federal Reserve. The story goes, and you can see the video of the author explaining this online. But the story goes that all 5 or 6 guys went in separate train cars from like New York City down to Jekyll Island, Georgia. And they were representatives of people like J.P. Morgan, people like, I can't remember the names, but I think Rockefeller, and it was senators that represented these people's interests. They came up with the idea for the Federal Reserve at Jekyll Island, Georgia, and they did it in secret, okay? And they were representatives of these people. This is not being done in secret right here, but who knows what has been done in secret. But let me go over the representatives, and this is the IMF High-Level Advisory Group. Jeremy Allaire, he is the Chief Executive Officer of Circle. Who invests in Circle? Goldman Sachs. Some of these I won't know, but I'm going to skip those. I get to Chris Larson, Executive Chairman of Ripple. This is the guy that started it all, folks. Blythe Masters, remember who Blythe Masters is. Remember, she left a company, but before she was at J.P. Morgan for 27 years. She went and formed the digital asset. It's a company called Digital Assets, I think, Group or something. But the investors in digital asset are Goldman Sachs and J.P. Morgan. Let me see if I recognize any more. Then they put some academics on here. And they're all Harvard, MIT. I mean, you name it. And I don't think you've got Carolyn Wilkins. She's from the Bank of Canada. You've got, I mean, all of these people. If you go down this rabbit hole, there's no telling where this all leads you. But you have the most powerful people in the world that these people represent if they aren't themselves. Okay, now the G20. Just so you know what the G20 is, it was founded in 1999 with the aim to discuss policy pertaining to the promotion of international finance stability. The G20 has expanded its agenda since 2008, and heads of government or heads of state, as well as finance ministers and foreign ministers, have periodically conferred at summits ever since. It seeks to address issues that go beyond the responsibilities of any one organization. All right, so what this all reminds me of is the tweet that I keep going back to. I always thought, how bold of Miguel Valles this guy asks Miguel Valles on Twitter back in 2018, Lambo soon? Then Miguel Valles says, when XRP is more liquid than a G10 currency, I'll buy myself a chocolate chip and get back to work. How on earth do you think Miguel Valles is going to have the liquidity in XRP of a G10 currency Well, it might be if the ILP is donated to the world, and it might be if the G20 accepts XRP as the bridge currency or one of the bridge currencies to the world. You could pretty confidently type this if that was the case. And for those of you that don't know, G10 currencies would be these types of currencies: Swiss franc, US dollar, euro, pound sterling, Japanese yen, Australian dollar. Are you seeing where this is all going, folks? All right. And then there's this. I mean, this woman right here is from Bloomberg. This is from XRP 2020. It's all starting to line up. No riddles to give you, but if you don't see what's going on, I can't help you. This woman says Mnuchin met with cryptocurrency and digital asset industry folks today at Treasury. This is from yesterday. She's telling us that Mnuchin's meeting at Treasury with industry folks on cryptocurrency. And I think this is that might be from the G20. This was him with Christine Lagarde at the G20. And I'll remind you folks, not only have we seen Christine Lagarde in the room with Brad Garlinghouse more than once, but we also know that Steve Mnuchin started CIT Bank, and CIT Bank appointed as their general counsel Stuart Alderati. Stuart Alderati, after Mnuchin left CIT to go become the Treasury Secretary of the United States, Stephen Alderati goes to Ripple to be general counsel. Do you see how all this is forming up, folks? Okay, then from Michelle Vandenberg, he sent me this from the BIS, cross-border payments. This is the Bank for International Settlements. Cross-border settlements are improving more slowly, partly because coordinating change across borders is difficult. And they've got all these diagrams, and we've seen diagrams like this, and we've seen a lot of them that look very, actually, let me show you one of them. When I look at this, the diagram that I keep this on my desktop now, and I want to give Love for Crypto, Scott from Love for Crypto, give him a shout out because those guys are the ones that originally, where I originally saw this, and they have a video out there. Go to Love for Crypto on YouTube. He gave me a shout out yesterday for bringing this back up to people's attention. I want to make sure those guys get all the credit they deserve. They have a video out there, and I can't remember what it's called, but you can go to their YouTube channel and subscribe. Love for Crypto. They were the first ones to show this. But look at that. Look at what you're staring there. XRP ledger right there. And then look at this from the BIS. Looks awfully familiar, doesn't it? Okay. Then from Peter Voss. Peter Voss, now remember yesterday I was talking about how Craig Phillips was one of the, I think, advisors, or either he might be on the board of directors at Ripple. Well, people started sending me things, and this one was from Peter Voss. This was an article from Business Wire. And this was Cryptopolis and Brad Combs picked up on this. Craig brings more than 35 years of industry expertise to Ripple, having held leadership roles at Morgan Stanley and BlackRock. And then it goes on down here. Craig served as counselor to Secretary of the Treasury Stephen Mnuchin, where he oversaw regulatory framework development for the financial system under Executive Order 13772. BlackRock, remember folks, we showed you yesterday, BlackRock is the largest shareholder in Goldman Sachs. Then we followed Larry Fink, who he's one of the guys that is on the board at the World Economic Forum. And we showed you two guys that are directly tied to Ripple. One that's on SBI's board of directors with the World Economic Forum, and the other who was with the company called GIC, which is Singapore's, basically the investment company that manages Singapore's money. And the guy was directly linked to that. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. All right. But I decided that I would look and see if there were other Ripple boards of directors that we don't know about. I showed you Ripple's website. Let me see. Is this from? No. Showed you Ripple's website yesterday, and they don't have all of their board of directors listed, or these are board members that aren't still on there. But I decided to pull up a few of them and look at them. First one is Michael S. Barr. He was right here with no picture. Michael S. Barr, looks like we've got yet another person who was working with the Treasury Secretary of the United States. Former Treasury official Michael S. Barr joins Ripple Labs. Barr is, where does it say it? right here. Ripple Labs is pleased to announce that Michael S. Barr, a former U.S. Department of the Treasury official, has joined the advisory board. And this is Michael Barr's Twitter. Let's look at this. In 1994, Barr joined the policy planning staff of the United States Department of State as a special advisor and counselor. From 1995 to 97, he served as special assistant to the United States Department of the Treasury Robert Rubin, and then as deputy assistant assistant secretary of the Treasury for Community Development Policy from 97 to 2001. Barr concurrently served as special advisor to President Bill Clinton. Yes, the same Bill Clinton that was at Ripple's swell a couple of years ago. And then down here, I thought this was interesting as well. Barr has served as an advisor to multiple public policy organizations and initiatives, including the Brookings Institution. Who heads the Brookings Institution? I believe that would be Glenn Hutchins, who is also on the board at the Digital Currency Group. And the Center for American Progress, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation Advisory Committee, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and the Washington Center for Equitable Growth. You can't make this stuff up, folks. And I also showed you yesterday this James Robinson guy was the guy that he heads the RRE Ventures, which was an investor in Ripple, but I didn't realize he's also on their board. But I showed his resume yesterday because I was so amazed by just how connected and what was on his resume. He's a board observer on BitPay and the Digital Currency Group. He's been at JP Morgan. I mean, his resume is just loaded down with connections. Now, Ripple Labs names Donald Donahue as advisor. We talked about this maybe a week or two ago. Donald Donahue used to be the CEO of DTCC, which is also represented. DTCC is one of the companies that was represented, I believe, on that IMF advisory board. Okay, now I want to show you the guy that is on this Ripple board that kind of intrigues me the most. Demetri Argyropoulos. Okay, let's look at who he is. He is the founder and chief executive officer of Avant Global, which I assume invests in Ripple, but I don't have anything to prove that. This guy, my red flags go off when I started to read about this guy. Look at this article on Forbes about this guy. The Night in the Boardroom. Fifth Avenue in New York. I'm not going to read all this to you, but I'm going to go down to this. There are over 388 million entries for night in Google search, most of them having to do with Dungeons and Dragons or unicorns. It takes some doing to become a real knight. In the daily life, let me see if it says he's a knight. I don't know if he's a freaking knight or not. Let me see if it said that up here. Anyway, in the daily, it's talking about how he heads Avant Global. He has been the catalyst in successfully connecting, co-founding, and seeding many dozens of companies in industries from medical devices to internet advertising. And I'm not going to keep saying his name because it's too hard to say, but it says he was an early investor in Twitter. He's helped raise money for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and the Clinton Global Initiative, invested in a company co-founded by Lady Gaga, and created strategic relationships for the world's top 10 wealthiest families. In sum, this guy and his partners at Avant Global have generated over $10 billion in value for clients. It has not been easy money, he said. And if you keep going along and you read about this guy is someone. Talking about how listen to this. Demetri, he also grew up very close with his grandfather, an electrical engineer who had worked with both Henry Ford and Thomas Edison. He knew so many amazing people. He knew Tesla. His grandfather died in 1996. I'm going to say it now, but I'm going to tell you, if you look up this guy's grandfather, I bet he is somebody, and somebody really, really connected. And that's just me talking out loud. But the thing that really jumped out at me in this is something they said down here. If you keep reading this down here, it says they said something right here. two themes surface when talking about Demetri Argyropoulos. First, that he's connected, and second, that he's the nicest guy. But this right here caught my attention. This line right here, this is Forbes talking. This guy is connected, and this guy is worth looking closer into. He's got a Greek name. I've got my money that if you really look at this guy, there's more than just some random kid who grew up in Santa Barbara. I think this guy comes from somebody, and I'm going to look further into him. And any of you who can find something on this guy, I want to know, because I think that he's not there by accident. Michael at VL5 Links. San Francisco-based Coinbase is still preparing behind the scenes for a presence in the Japanese market. Well, you better believe they are. Coinbase has to see SBI virtual currencies over there, and they have to be thinking, man, they're going to get that whole market if we don't hurry up. Now, I saw this. I want to show you this because this looks kind of scary. Oh, drama. CZ Binance and Brian Armstrong. What's happening, gents? This is from Ian Northey. Binance, Coinbase, and other cryptocurrency exchanges are reportedly targeted by a new Trojan virus. All right. It says, according to their report, Cerebras this is some kind of Trojan virus. It's capable of stealing two-factor authentication codes generated by the Google Authenticator app, which are used to secure online banking and email accounts, as well as cryptocurrency accounts on certain exchanges. This was first identified in June of last year, but has since become a more serious threat after being updated in mid-January of this year. Once the virus is installed on a device, it is capable of downloading all content to a remote location, which can be accessed by any number of fraudsters or criminals. That is scary. Google Authenticator is like the last line of defense on any of those things. I wanted to finish with this, folks. I want to reiterate this point. I'm going to keep bringing this up. This right here is the most underrated tweet that Brad Garlinghouse has sent out in a year, in my opinion. This is when Kahina Van Dyke, she left Ripple to go to Standard Chartered Bank, and he says, congrats, we're glad you'll only be a node on the network away over at Standard Chartered. In other words, folks, all these banks that are working with Ripple, you are going to start seeing them lighting up the nodes on the network. Mark my words, that's where this is going. And you're going to start seeing them place people like they did Kahina Van Dyke in these banks. The big picture is all coming together now. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe and hit the like button and tell your friends and family that the night in the boardroom has got my attention. Thank you for listening.